Welcome to the Unsideline Life, the podcast that challenges and encourages women to stop denying themselves a full life and to step boldly into the opportunities God is preparing for you. Join me for raw insights and engaging conversations to guide your journey of self-discovery and pursue the life that God created for you. Welcome to the Unsideline Life. This is Eileen Noyes, your host. All right, I'm going to get right into this one. So I have done a couple of episodes with different women, moms, wives. And so this one, I actually wanted to do for a while. So it's called the Mommy Mindset Makeover. Before I get into that, a couple things. So what I'm going to do today, I'm actually going to have a breakdown of it in a PDF form. So this is one thing that you'll have an opportunity to get for free if you go on the Unsideline Life. So after this episode, we'll have this available. So the unsidelinelife.com, and you can get this for free. Also on the website right now is the affirmation cards. If you've watched previous episodes, you have heard me talk about Lady Bellator. You've heard me talk about the 4 pillars of her. So she's the royal daughter of God. She is the bride of Christ, married or single, so she's a bride. She is the contending matriarch or the nurturing mother figure, or she doesn't have kids. And then she's an impact maker. So all 4 pillars sum up Lady Bellator. I'm actually in the middle of doing my Proverbs 31, the Lady Bellator edition. So how a Proverbs 31 woman looks right now. So I'm super excited about that. So if you know anything about Proverbs 31, the first 9 chapters are before the section where it talks about the noble wife or the excellent wife. So I finally got done with those. And yeah, God was good, actually, in the sense that I'm like, okay, Lord, how do I take these verses and apply it to moms and women when this first section is directed toward kings or leaders. And so I won't give it away, but God just did an amazing job showing me how to apply it to women. So some of them, honestly, when it's talking about alcohol, it's talking about different things. I'm like, whoa, Lord, you're cool. Like, I love the devotionals that he gave me. So anyways, enough about that. Okay, so I have talked to different women. And so this is why I'm talking about this mommy mindset makeover. There's just a couple of things. So the last episode before this one is the episode with Bettina Driver. She is a wife of an NFL player. She's a beautiful woman, a mom who she loves being, that role of being behind the scenes. And so just talking to her, seeing how she honors her husband, seeing how, she lives out her role as a mom and wife and how she's connected to her church. So, so we talk about those things. We just talk about, a success story in the sense of NFL. We're talking 80% divorce and are bankrupt. And so she is of the 20%. And so I commend her. And so yes, if you haven't seen that episode, please watch that. Before that one, I've had Jeannie Bruette. She has been the executive assistant to 3 general managers of the Packers. And so another one who shows how she prioritizes God, her marriage, her kids, and then being the impact maker, where she had some serious impact on the players, 21 years of different players coming through, 21 years of being an influence on the staff. And so to see how God uses different women and, in different eras, different phases, different lives. And take me, for example, I don't want to say success story, but, so you have someone like Bettina, then you have someone who is, now grandma. So she's been used by God in this way. And then you have someone like me who, I would say that I never in a million years thought that I would be part of the 20% that divorce. Thank God we're not bankrupt, but I was part of the statistic. And of course, my story is different in the sense that it was not like, should I say normal, but yeah, there was not the whole thing of the cheating. There was not irreconcilable differences. It was literally, I would say for sure, attack of the enemy to, unfortunately, redirect my ex's views from God and the word to something else. I would just kind of leave it at that. But, that was never in a million years would I have thought that would happen. So you have a situation like me who marriage, raised 8 kids, and then divorce happens. But thank God, God is not done with me yet. And he's shown me and he's had to speak to me through this to know that I'm not a failure. That belief that, man, like I'm not married anymore. I mean, now I'm remarried, but it's just that I feel like, oh, you're a Christian, you're divorced. Well, what good are you? That whole mentality, thinking like, am I anything outside of who my husband is? All those things, they run through your head as a wife and as a mom. And so when I come across this is just the range of different situations as a wife and a mom. I had done this thing. It was a challenge. So I ran a challenge before that led into mentorship with me. It was called the Something More Challenge. And I was just talking about us as women where we feel like there's something more. There's something more that's there for us. So it's a nudge, which I believe is from the Lord that, you know what, like I'm doing these things. Lord, is there something else that you want me to do? And so I talk about that in a way where even it's crazy. Even when I talk about it now and when I say, is there something more? There's almost like a guilt to think, God, I'm serving my husband. I'm serving my kids. I want to, volunteer, I want to serve my community. But to think, is there something more for me? It weirdly feels selfish. And so this mindset makeover, there's 3 different ones. So in this challenge, I broke 3 of them down into 3 days. So we'll just go from here. I'm going to try and do all three today. So in regards to this mindset makeover, I'm just going to speak into this idea that we're not supposed to think at all of ourselves. I don't know. It's just something I know for me. That's just how it is. Or it's been where it's like I felt bad thinking about myself or thinking honestly, and so for so many reasons, a tone was set, whether in my mind or just circumstantially, where I just came to this conclusion. It's not about me. I talk about this in a previous podcast. Life is not about me, but it's not about denying me. God has called me to a purpose as a wife, a purpose as a mom, and a purpose outside of those roles, and a purpose that fills me and allows me to grow and allows me to be who God has called me to be fully. There's 3 different, I would say, makeovers, and they're broken down into the acronym, which God gave me, mindset, for all 3. So the first one has to do with, I would say, motherhood as a whole, but really, I think it's more of something that will help young moms get through the thick of it. And the thick of it, we're talking physically speaking, in the sense of you're headed on a swivel because you're changing diapers and you're making sure that the pee doesn't, just all the things, the pee, the poop, the cabinets, making sure the cabinets are closed, safety, locking everything, making sure that your baby gates are up. It's constantly a head on the swivel to keep your baby safe, right? So you have that, you have the toddler stage. So it's just those different stages. And then you also have the stage of, it's not as crazy like that. It's more of, okay, we're not in diapers anymore, but we're running the kids around everywhere they need to go, school, homework, all the things. So it's a different busyness in life, right? And then you have the stage where the kids are older. They're out of the house, so high school, college, maybe out of the house. So there's different seasons of life. And even so in those seasons of life, let's say your kids are all at school, for example, like me. For me, when my youngest finally went to school, then it was like, I can dream a little bit more. Oh my gosh, like I have a window of time where I can incorporate more. What are my hobbies? What are the things I like to do? What are you calling me to do, Lord? And so I wanted to just allow these three mindsets to help the mom, to help the wife kind of be okay with where she is now, allowing her to dream, allowing her to not feel bad for thinking, is there more for me? I know for a time, look, when I was single, I told you this before, I was a strength coach. I loved it. I've always, been physically active. I played volleyball, so I had to jump high because I was short. So I loved being the weight room. I loved working on strength. I loved being a strength coach, working physically to help different athletes, just helping them jump higher, get stronger, go faster, all those things. Then God incorporated the spiritual strength coach aspect of it. So when I became a Christian, when I truly gave myself to the Lord, it's a shift. There was an addition, not a shift, not a total shift, but there was an addition. Physical strength coach, working on that stuff, but also incorporating spiritual strength, drawing close to the Lord. I was able to pray with athletes. I did Bible studies with the girls. I took them to church. There was just that part of me that loved, that still is there. There's always been something in me, not only to share Jesus with people, but a passion in me to encourage women. So in that stage, because I was one of those who partied like crazy, slept with people and did all those things. And I didn't realize, I was so naive to how I was living my life, thinking that I was cool or that it was flattering having guys, want to get with me. Like when I see young girls, so in the phase of being in a college scene, to help these women know that there's so much more than that, and to help them see their value was more than, how they looked physically. That was my heart. Then going to the Packers and being a Packer wife, even still, it was hard to leave my singleness and the precious time of God using me at San Diego State to up and leave and to be a wife to an NFL athlete, to up and leave everything I knew to go to a place that I knew no one. That was super hard. And as time, went on, and as I started getting more grounded in who I was and, what I was meant for in that, in that place, still. So here I'm, married, focusing on being a wife, and then eventually, and not too long after, eventually going into motherhood, I still had a heart to love up on women. So, where I was part of the Bible study and then eventually helping to lead Bible study for the Packer women. And it was interesting. So even, because it was 9 years there, which is a long time in terms of NFL careers. I remember being in my 30s and remembering that scripture, not sure where, but it says, have the older women teach the younger women how to love their husbands and their children. And so I was thinking, like, wow, God, I'm not even that old, but I know that you're calling me to be that. And I embraced it. So there was always something in me. I love ministering to women. I love encouraging women to see their value. And so even more so as I learn, and as I learned through my crazy time of being like, not physically, but beat down spiritually and emotionally, feeling like nothing, feeling like, what was my value? Oh my gosh, Lord, am I anything to you? How God got me through is such a passion in me to help other women like see that you're not like nothing. You are somebody, you are needed. And so this is really the reason why I'm doing all these things, these podcasts and things like that, is to encourage women. So it's always been there. And so it's here now. So the first mindset, like I said, sorry, I talk a lot, but like I said, this has to do with kind of in the thick of mom life, busy stuff. So my needs and desires are important. Okay. So your needs are important. Your desires are important. I said here, it says, you're not selfish for desiring to prioritize you. So yes, life is not about just you. But that whole concept of the oxygen mask, when you're on a plane, they say put your oxygen mask on first before you help anybody else. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you lack oxygen, you do some crazy stuff. So you could be thinking that I'm helping someone put their no, I don't want to focus on myself first. Let me help someone else. And you're going to be putting that oxygen mask on their ears or somewhere else and not where it's supposed to go because you are lacking oxygen. You are lacking, you're just incoherent. And so it's the same concept. Don't feel bad because you need a break. Don't feel bad when you say, you know what? I got to take a step back and focus on me. I need rest. I need time to myself. So don't feel bad about making yourself a priority. Okay. So that's number one. I in mindset. In the grand scheme of things, don't let it get to you. It's going to be okay. And you don't have to sweat the small stuff. So when I say that, I think moms, young moms especially, we can be so hard on ourselves. We can be so hard, especially when you're first time mom, you want everything perfect, all the pacifiers, you need to be clean, sanitized, all these things. And sometimes I was actually just at a couple weeks ago, I was speaking at this thing called Mom Space. And I have not been in that environment so long where all the babies are running around, throwing things, all that stuff. And I'm just looking at these moms, these young moms, and I'm thinking, whew, wow, it's been a while for one. But two, it's like, I see how hard. I know for me, there were times where I would feel like I'm such a bad mom. There's such that mentality, and there's such a place where we're so hard on ourselves. And so, in the grand scheme of things, like if your kid throws a tantrum or something happens where you're embarrassed and you think like, oh my gosh, like I'm such a bad mom. For me, I can't tell you how many times I forgot things like their homework or a kid going to school without shoes, and I would feel crappy and I would get down on myself. Or even now, this applies. We could be running late to school and I'm having a cow like, I told you guys, always prepare the night before. Now you're running late and this and that. And so it's like, I'm getting in the car frazzled. My kids are frazzled. And then whenever we drive down our hill, I'm praying, right? And then I'm like, okay, Lord, forgive me. Let me receive your peace. And then I would just really think you know what? Let's think in the grand scheme of things. Them having a tardy notice or them being late to school, in 5 years, is that even going to matter? Who cares? So there's some things that you just kind of have to think in 1 month, in a year, in 5 years, is this really gonna make a major impact? And I'm talking things like, what if they get in trouble? What if their grades aren't what you think? So sometimes in the grand scheme of things, don't sweat the small stuff. Next, N, nip negativity and doubt in the bud. So I call this the 3-second rule. If we allow ourselves, and most of the times we do, I know for me, there are times when I dwell way too long on things. And if I don't keep myself in check, my mind goes into bad places. For me, I don't know if it's a lack of discipline, but the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so what I do a lot is when my mind goes in yucky places, I will turn on Miles Monroe. I will turn on Michael Dalton. These are I've referred to them before. I'll listen to a book. I'll listen to a podcast. I'll turn on the Bible where it's okay, Lord, my mind isn't going in funky places, whether it's about my marriage or my kids or me, believing the lies. And so I've learned, nip it in the bud. If you're dwelling on something for 3 seconds and it's not of God and it's negative, it's shameful, cut it off. Don't allow yourself to go there. So quit the dwelling and nip it in the bud. So again, nip negativity, nip doubt in the bud. I know for me, especially being in this space right now, I have to push through because the devil still wants to push on me that lie that I know is not true. Why are you doing what you're doing? You're not cut out for this stuff. Yeah, like no one cares about what you have to say. No one is listening to you. You are a fit. All those things. Nip that in the bud. Don't let the devil's voice have any time with you. So you listen. Lord, is this from you? And if it's shameful, if it's negative, pretty much is it. God, Holy Spirit, He's gentle. I'm gonna give you these things about Holy Spirit. And maybe I might down the road, I haven't looked like I haven't looked into this in so long. I might refer to it again, but I'm going to say this. When God is talking to you, it's never shameful. Even when He has to discipline you, even when He has to correct you, there's always a tenderness and there's always like an action step. So let me say it like this. Like if you hear you're fat or you suck as a mom or something like general or shameful, where there's not, it's not about behavior. It's about a character flaw, like you suck as a mom or anything like that. Like I'm a bad mom. That's not of God. God will direct you. Holy Spirit will say, Eileen, go apologize to your husband. Eileen, say it this way. Eileen. So it's specific. It's specific to behavior because God knows if I can talk to the behavior, I can change it versus shame, which is of the devil. If he says and he causes you or makes you believe I'm a bad mom, that's you. That's you as a person. Like, how can you change it? And so there's no hope in that thinking. And so that thinking is not of God. So again, nip negativity and doubt in the bud. D, don't grow weary in doing well. Your perseverance has purpose. In the mommy stage, when you're changing the diapers, don't grow weary in doing well. I know it's a phase, and sometimes it ends up in days where you're in tears or you haven't showered or, you're just exhausted. Persevere. Understand that in every phase is just preparing you for another phase. So the diaper stages, know that you're creating a safe environment where your kids are, and I talk about subconscious mind, when you're there for your kids, you're creating a place of safety for them. You're the first line of defense for them. You're the first place of safety for them. And so when you allow yourself to think, you know what, like this thankless time, this nonstop diaper changes, poop, all the different things, just know that one, it's going to pass and you're going to miss it. And two, that is just a season. And that, you know what, like this is you doing your job for that season. So yeah, don't grow weary in doing well. And then again, across the board. So not just for the young lives, but don't grow weary in doing well. For me, during the hard seasons, during that hard time, don't grow weary in doing well. Like push through to applying my spiritual weapons of warfare. Lord, I'm going to be thankful. Lord, I'm going to be joyful. Lord, I'm going to pray for my enemies. All these hard things that I'm going through, all these hard things that my kids are going through, I'm not going to grow weary in well-doing. Sometimes as a mom, whether those baby stages or the thankless stages of driving the kids all over the place, and when they have attitude, don't grow weary in doing well. Those experiences are preparing you, and those things they're precious and they're valuable and honored by God and will be honored by your kids as they get older, as they have their own kids, all those things. Next, S, success and harvest come in seed form. Understand this in whatever season that you're in. It's called seed time and harvest. I know for me, and I'm referred to me a lot in the sense of like where I'm at right now. Like I said, when I have a lot of kids, that diaper stage, that went on for a long period of time, right? And, just the different stages. So like, I'll just give you an example, the stage of entering into entrepreneurship. And the way that I know, or the way that I've been taught what entrepreneurship is really, in a nutshell, it's solving someone else's problem. And so for me, helping other women in NFL and the pro sports world, giving them a voice, helping them to feel understood, all those things, that's part of entrepreneurship. Me like using my books to share with women and encourage them to live, more fully to the calling that God has for them. That's entrepreneurship. It's solving problems, allowing myself to take the things that I'm doing at home as a mom, different problem solving things. That is like all moms basically. We're entrepreneurs because we help solve a lot of problems. That's what I try to teach my kids. My daughter's always like, Mom, this happened or whatever. And I'm like, hey, like, try to figure out how to solve a problem. Don't just ask me first. Learn to solve a problem. So entrepreneurship is a word that I was very scared of before. But in terms of coming to this place, it takes time. It takes time. It's been 2 years since I've written my first book, Sideline No More, which I know God is going to use. It's taken 2 years for me to allow that seed to finally start having, like, sprouting, like whatever you want to call it, leaves or whatever. It's just taking time. And so it falls in line with don't grow weary in doing well. It's just going to take time. Some things take time. So whatever stage again that you're in, know that, you know what, like, actually, I'm going to give you an example. When I started writing the first book, I was like, I'm on a roll. I want to do this. I want to get it done. Right. And I was like, I wanted to get it done in a certain amount of time. Well, then God says, hey, move to California. We moved to California. And the book went on pause for about half a year. And then when I went back to it and I finished it, I was like, wow, God, as much as I wanted to finish that book by this time, how much wisdom, how much more life experience, how much more did I learn in that whatever 6-7 month period that it took to finish the book. And so I look back and I go, wow, the book would not even been nearly as good if I decided, let's finish just to get it done as fast as I could. So success and harvest come in seed form. I'm going to just do one. I didn't think it would take this long. So you're going to get 2 more of these. All right. E, embrace his grace and celebrate your victories, no matter how small. It is super important, no matter what stage you're in, that you, again, it ties in with like not being so hard on yourself. Celebrate your victories. I know, again, like for me, you're going to hear that a lot. For me, being in this dynamics with a lot of kids and a lot of things to do, I'm just going to refer back to the book. When I got done with the book, my mindset was like, okay, how do I do this next thing? How do I do this next thing? And I would not, it's like I forgot to celebrate the fact that I'm a mom of 8 and I just went through this crazy stuff and I'm remarried and I just wrote a book. Like, celebrate it, Eileen. Don't just go to the next thing. Because my mind, because of so much that's going on, I kind of get in this mindset of check, okay, next, check, next. And it is so important to celebrate, to be thankful. Like, God, thank you that I finished this book. Thank you that I'm doing these things. Celebrating those little victories, however you want to do it, getting your nails done, going to dinner, celebrating with a friend, just acknowledging it and soaking in it for a while. Allow yourself to do that so that you can continue. That those things are needed so that we can move forward. We can't just always be like go, go, go without time to sit and smell the roses. So that is E. And the last thing, T, trust the process. God's timing is perfect even when it's hard to see. I'm trying to think if I should give this example or not. Okay. So it's really, again, it goes back to, I think, the example of the book. This is what I wanted to do. This is why I wanted to write the book so fast. I have referred to in the past, there was a podcast series called Spiraled, right? So this was a podcast series done by a Sports Illustrated, now ESPN journalist, who documented the situation that happened with me and my ex, as well as other NFL players who kind of joined this particular religious teaching. And so she wrote first an article in Sports Illustrated, and then she asked me because the first one I wasn't part of, she asked me, and as well as other women, to be a part of a series documenting on through podcast. So this was this was 2 something years ago. And that, because that, when they started it, I was like, okay, she said it's going to take this long to get it out, to get it up and running. I don't know the time frame, but that's where I was like, okay, I got to ride this wave. I'm going to make sure that my book is done the same time that that's done. So, here I'm thinking, okay, I'm done with the book. They're not done with the podcast. It just recently came out. And so I could go, I could complain, I could do all these things, but I'm realizing that it's in God's timing that even the podcast came out. So that's it's like a personal example. I'm just trusting, God's timing for me to get married, God's timing for my kids in terms of just seeing where God has taken their lives, and, just you put in your situation in regards to just trusting the process. For me, for sure, as hard as it is, and again, in this entrepreneurship thing, trusting the process, trusting that God is going to put the right people in my path so that this podcast won't just be something new and small. I'm hoping to reach, a broader audience, a bigger audience. I'm hoping that God soon opens the doors for NFL and pro athlete wives. Like I said, this has been me being 7 years out of the cult situation, 3 years in California, and this whole process of reaching the NFL wives, it took this long. And, I've had bouts of discouragement. I've had bouts of God, is this from you? Are we going to do this? And so just another example of just trusting the process. When I was at I refer to this, and I'm actually talking about it in a different podcast, this event called the Professional Player Prayer Project, P4. I was just a part of that over a month ago, right? And me being at that event for such a time as this allowed a husband, a guy who used to play in the NFL, who's now an actor. He heard me speak. He goes home to tell his wife about me. She starts reading my book. She gets a hold of me. She's telling me how much she finally feels understood through her time in the NFL, that phase, that season, and just being a wife married to someone in the limelight like that. To hear her on my phone, to hear her say, oh my gosh, I never have felt understood or seen like the way I'm being understood and seen by you. When she's talking to me, she's like, no one has ever been able to put into words, and I've never been able to convey what you're talking about. And she's like, keep doing it. And so this whole thing, trust the process, that encouragement right there is allowing me to continue moving forward, continuing to help me to go, you know what, God, as discouraged as I may get, and as much as I want to quit and just focus on being mom and wife, things like that have allowed me to say, okay, Lord, this process and this timing means that you're doing something else in me, it's just not time for me to have it get out. I mean, there's ideas and things that I want to do that I had visions of 2 years ago. And if I did it back then, it would have flopped. And I know that it's coming. And so when it's here, I'll be able to tell you guys, hey, this thing that's going on now, I thought about it 2 years ago, and it just wasn't God's timing. So again, trust the process. Mindset number 1, my needs and desires are important. In the grand scheme of things, remind yourself it's gonna be okay. Don't sweat the small stuff. N, nip negativity and doubt in the bud. D, don't grow weary in doing well. S, success and harvest comes in seed form. E, embrace his grace and celebrate your victories, no matter how small. And then T, trust the process. God's timing is perfect even when it's hard to see. All right. Hope this first mindset makeover helped you, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Until next time, love well, celebrate your strength, and discover the new things you are capable of. You are a light in the lives of those around you, and no night is too dark for you to find your way.